Welcome, everyone, to Wizards and Warp Drives, the podcast where three grown-ass men get deeply nerdy about the things they love. My name's Nacho, and joining me, as per usual, is Fred from How to RPG, and the mighty glue stick himself, Mr. AJ Pickett.
How's it going?
Hi.
Morning. How are we all?
Oh, pretty good.
Yep, I'm ready to talk about the Ready Player One, the Oasis. Absolutely.
Fred's just keen to get into it.
The leap right into the subject.
Mate, I got things to do. I got drawing to be done. I'm doing. You know, my life is only so long. I got to get stuff done before there's something else to be done.
Yep. I was saying just the other day on a live stream that I once saw a stat for how many books somebody could read in their lifetime, like novels and stuff, and it really depressed me. It's like 10,000. I've got to choose only 10,000 out of all of literature.
Does that double if you count audiobooks though?
I suppose so.
Can you like increase that by listening as well as reading?
You can skim read and listen to it on fast forward.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works, Nacho. You use every book that you listen to on an audio track or as an audio book. It's a minus. You deduct it from the number of books you actually read.
But a tree lives.
I think I've listened to more audiobooks than read books now.
Yeah, you're being the negatives now. Yeah.
What are we currently reading? I'm currently on the second book, about to go on to the third book of Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is an RPG lit series that Nacho got hooked me into.
Yeah, that is a great book. So do you know what lit RPG is, Fred?
Do I know what RPG?
RPG literature.
Lit RPG. It's a genre of books that combines like computer RPG with fantasy and science fiction.
Mm-hmm. So
it was invented in Russia in 2013.
Really? So the assumption is that your character is usually the protagonist, and they are an ordinary person who gets taken from Earth and thrust into a D&D world with game mechanics. So people who understand role-playing games understand. Like they learn the system of the world with the character, and there's usually some elaborate reason why that is. In the case of Dungeon Crawler Carl, Earth is basically property in a game show, a galactic game show, and the entire population has been thrown into a dungeon complex constructed inside Earth and run by an AI and watched by trillions of people in the galaxy. And it's extremely unfair. Nobody gets to the end of it. You have to get to the end of it to basically own the Earth and get it back, but nobody ever does. So it's essentially entertainment genocide. And it's
with a slight foot fetish to it as well.
Yeah, and each book is kind of like a level of the dungeon. They've got so many days before it collapses, and they have to be downstairs in the next one, and each one is a puzzle that they unlock. And they level up and get, stuff.
So Carl gets trapped outside. The Earth basically collapses. He's trapped outside trying to get his ex-girlfriend's cat out of a tree.
Yeah,
in his boxer shorts and a leather jacket, and that's pretty much what he is stuck in the dungeon wearing. Just a leather jacket, boxer shorts, and then the cat becomes.
And the AI has got a foot fetish, so he's barefoot and wearing covered boxers the entire time. Can't equip anything else apart from toe rings.
Yeah.
And the AI message is giving creepy messages about him smushing enemies with his bare feet.
He gets extra points and extra views. He has to go on talk shows at the end of each level. I actually stole a lot of stuff from Dungeon Crawler Carl to put into my Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign.
Some of the monsters in there, I'm definitely going to homebrew. I had an idea today for a puppeteer spider that uses its webs to animate the corpses to lure you in.
I know
what you two get up to when you're together alone.
Actually, we're talking about prostate health.
This will be the last podcast I'll be doing with you guys, just because of the clearly the sick, perverted joy that you get from that whole literature line is questionable.
I mean, it caters perfectly to my tastes.
Yeah,
and it's also related to the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is Ready Player One.
As soon as I read it, I was like, AJ's going to like this. I'll recommend it because I know AJ likes cats. Straight away, it was the cat hook for me. He's like, because the cat is super cool in it.
Yeah. His sunglasses.
Anyway, So lit RPG it does line up with our topic today, because Ready Player One is almost like a lit RPG itself.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a nostalgia thing. You guys read the books at all, or just the movie?
Just the movie.
Yeah, I never read
Just
the
the movie.
books. I didn't even realize it was a book or a book series, isn't it? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the book actually has a lot different IPs in it because he wasn't tied. Obviously, when they made the movie, I think it was made by Warner's or whoever. They could only use the IPs that they owned, whereas the book goes more general. It actually has a really big Dungeons and Dragons section in it where one of the keys he has to actually complete the Tomb of Horrors in real life.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is a second book as well, but the second book's not as good.
Mm.
Yeah, and then Spielberg made the film. So it's one of my favorites. I really liked it. And I don't think it got very good reviews.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think the message kind of gets lost. The message of the movie, and there's a strong message in it, gets lost in the visuals. You know, I think it suffers from that. Because if I watched that movie, and unless somebody had told me that Spielberg was the director and the producer, I would not have believed them.
Yeah, there's no cutesy animal in it anywhere. No cutesy critter.
Well, no, that's not really. It's just Spielberg has
missing
always.
dad.
No, that's not that. You know, if you watch Spielberg's movies, when he shows people in the world, he shows them in a very, very real sense. You know, they have very sort of mundane, normal issues. You can take a snippet out of those scenes where they aren't fantastical,
Mm.
and you're like, well, yeah, that's like a normal family, just in America. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that there being a lot more sort of, there's a much stronger grounded reality to the scenes with humans where there aren't sort of dinosaurs running around and alien spaceships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you did not get that from this movie. It did not feel like that at all.
Yeah, you had the segments of it like where it's showing where he lives, which is like the vertical trailer park sort of thing, which is interesting because it has kind of a Brazilian, like if you go to South America and you see some of those cities which are on steep slopes and stuff, and then it's all like rooftops over rooftops. That's what it felt like when he was running from them and he was like jumping through other people's properties and like they're barbecuing and stuff like that outside their container ship, shipping container houses. That was pretty cool. That that they do that activity to escape from their lives, but their lives aren't really that different. Just a little bit like the future is overcrowded and poor.
I think the premise of the film and the book is to, you should appreciate the now, not using escapism to deal with your problems.
Yeah.
But it actually had the opposite effect on me, whereas I wanted the toy to escape into.
Yeah, the idea of that you've got really dysfunctional families, and they see the only way forward is to play the game and to spend their money on this equipment and stuff because it's they're scrabbling to survive. It's kind of like a scammer in a phone center, like does it to earn money, and they justify victimizing other people. Because they see themselves as the have-nots and other people's as the haves. So yeah, and there's definitely a very strong strata message in that the technological elite having the advantage and everybody else is just struggling to catch up. And when he gets a special suit, that's like Harry Potter getting the Nimbus 9000 flying broomstick and that sort of thing. So yeah.
So I thought it would be fun. I proposed 10 questions, as if the Oasis was a real device. I called it the Realmvoid.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine
that may have skewed my answers somewhat.
Well, imagine stepping into the Realmvoid, a vast virtual universe where dimensions of magic and science merge into endless possibilities. Your journey will be shaped by the choices you make and the avatar you choose to this epic quest to embark on. So there are going to be 10 key steps. Basically, it's like our tutorial, I guess, or our settings for the Realmvoid. So, step 1, create your avatar. In the Realmvoid, you can be anything you can imagine. You can choose any existing fictional or non-fictional character to embody. Your personality will remain the same, but you'll gain any abilities, skills, and powers this character has. Who do you become? Who wants to start?
Let's let AJ start, because he will struggle to not say anything and voice stuff. So let him get it out. Let him get it out.
Well, it's obvious who I'm going to choose. I choose Picaroon, my alter ego character in the Forgotten Realms, who is an immortal of the sphere of thought known as Rune, who is masquerading as his former mortal self, a dire halfling adventurer and scholar that now owns a spire of his own, basically his own wizard keep on an island that he has liberated from a former massive dragon, which is now populated with all sorts of a menagerie of monsters from all across the Forgotten Realms. Yeah, and he monitors. He basically is investigating the multiverse from his home base on the Forgotten Realms, but also using it as an opportunity to go to all the places that he always wanted to, now that he's essentially invulnerable. But yeah, he's restricted from using his powers because he wants to gain experience points so that he can progress as an immortal by competing in the Immortal Olympics and gaining hierarchy in that. But in order to do that, immortals have to not spend their power points, and their power points are their experience points. So he basically just is on an endless quest of discovery, and then not doing anything and not using his immortal power to just wipe. Like, maybe if there's a situation he needs to teleport instantly across the world or something like that. Like, for instance, he traveled to Aussie and people are like, how did the sage get there? And it's just like, he teleported. He can, he just spent a bit of experience points and he's there instantaneously. So yeah, he's definitely a Mary Sue character for sure. But it's in the reader's best interest that he can go anywhere and see anything. He's like the narrator's voice.
Does he look like you?
He does,
doesn't he?
Yeah. Yep. Looks exactly like me. Bit more rugged, bit more strong. He was slimmer than me, but not anymore.
Shorter, surely. You're not halfling size.
No, because he's a dire halfling. His basically his mum's a halfling, and his dad was because some of the halflings are actually quite tall. He's not of he's of the Lightfoot halflings who hang out with humans mostly. So he quite a lot of the halflings are actually tall. And it's even mentioned in the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit movie, that your so-and-so ancestor was so tall he could ride a horse. I'm like, yeah. They get smaller when they're in the Shire, but, out in the world, they're bigger. So, yeah.
Yes. All right. Picaroon.
Picaroon. I didn't choose that name, by the way. That was Esper.
Yeah. Since this his epic character, I'm going to go with Prometheus from Greek mythology, the Titan that was secured by Zeus to a rock and had is it liver or kidneys picked out every day by a giant bird. No, I'm only kidding. I just had to have something in comparison to.
It was his liver. In that mythology, they hold the kernel of knowledge, which is that the liver is an organ which regenerates very quickly from almost any damage. And that's what that legend kind of tells you, that his liver gets picked out every day and then regenerates. So it lets you know that you can actually survive quite severe injuries of the liver.
With your two answers, I was like, you guys have taken a totally different direction.
Yeah.
I'm going to come across very juvenile in this conversation.
To be fair, that's not my real answer, but I had to throw in something, that since Prometheus was responsible for bringing fire to the mortals, so I thought I'd throw that in there. Otherwise, mine is not so great. It doesn't sound quite as impressive. I was actually going to pick Lee, the Shaolin master, or Shaolin Abbot, the martial artist from the movie Enter the Dragon, played by Bruce Lee, which of course confuses the hell out of people because everybody used to get quite confused because the actor's name is Bruce Lee and the character's name is Lee, and they like, oh, is he actually just playing himself? No. It's just they picked Lee because Lee is such a common name in China that they wanted him to be viewed as being like it could be anybody, but he's not like anybody. So I picked that one. Or Spider-Man kind of fills the same vein. And why? I've always been interested in protecting myself because of all the bullying that I suffered at school. And it's one of the reasons why my grandmother got me involved in karate and martial arts, and self-defense. And I actually got to third dan black belt, and then I got old, and then and weak. It's just like you cannot keep it up for a length of time.
No.
And your body does break down over time, and mine started to break down. And I've inherited just about every genetic flaw you could have from my parents. So I really started to feel it, early on in the 20s and 30s. Actually, it was in about 2023. And I was like, oh God, what the hell is going on? But yeah, I've always liked the idea of being that character who can just punch their way and get their way through everything. So I picked that one.
There was an obsession in the 80s of martial arts as well, growing up. I remember spraining my groin trying to do splits on 2 chairs like Jean-Claude Van Damme. that kickboxer movie.
Yeah.
I know it's not Bruce Lee, but that was kind of sold. That Bruce Lee film, that was his only Warner Brothers film, wasn't it? That was his big...
Only American movie.
Yeah. That was,
all the rest were Hong Kong.
It's meant to be like his James Bond.
Yeah, well, his character Lee, and Bruce was his inspired Mortal Kombat. There's a character in there that's literally just a Bruce Lee character.
Yeah.
Is it Liu Kang? I think it is. And then if you look at Law from I can't remember the name of the fighting...
Street Fighter?
Is it Street Fighter?
No,
I don't know. No, it's a different one. It's a different one.
Oh, Tekken.
Yeah. So Law from there, and it just goes on and on. There's a whole bunch of characters based off Bruce, and Lee, the character he specifically played in that movie. Yeah.
All right. I didn't go a character as such. I kind of chose a suit of armor. I went with the Predator suit. Cloaking technology, ranged weapons. I've got that disc thing that throws around, superhuman strength, thermal motion detectors.
That net that slices you into pieces, the razor net. Yeah.
Dreads. It's a badass suit.
It is.
It's I like masks.
Not to mention a personal nuclear device on board. Yeah.
Self-destruct.
Yeah. You take me out, I'm taking out your city.
Yeah.
That's a very super atomic character, by the way.
I don't know if it's designed for a human. I mean, Predator aliens are kind of humanoid, but I don't know if I'd have to get it fitted, especially. I mean, I know Predators are normally in the 6 foot plus, and I'm only 5'8", so I'd have that sort of, you're pretty short for a stormtrooper thing going on.
Yeah. I think they're more 7 foot plus. They're big. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about that because you can be any height you like in the Realmvoid, right? And in your waist. Yeah. It's not a problem.
I can name any. I can name any number of superheroes that I could be for sure. My favorite is Black Bolt, of course, but that has the problem of not being able to talk. But other than that, there's like who else? Blue Beetle's
I was
cool.
torn with masked. I really like masked characters, so I think if I was in a place like the Realmvoid, I wouldn't want my identity to be shown. So I was torn between sort of like Iron Man, Predator, RoboCop, Judge Dredd, anything Boba Fett, anything with a cool helmet.
Yeah,
but Predator just had the gizmos that appealed to me a little bit more. I do like the idea of going invisible. And detecting things and stuff. So, all right. With our avatars set, it's time to choose the world and where our adventure will unfold. So, step 2, choose your campaign setting. Select a world or universe where your avatar will embark on their adventures. It can be anything from an RPG, movie, TV show, whatever.
Forgotten Realms, of course.
Who would have guessed?
Which is connected by cosmology to Eberron. And...
It's going to be a short one. I've also gone Forgotten Realms.
Oh, have you?
I spent so much time there. I feel like I know it.
Yes, I have details on the entire solar system that Toril is located in, all of the connected planes and things like that, the portal systems of the Petrarchy, the world gates of the elves, the portal gates back to the 6 home worlds of the orcs. I know everything. So yeah, I would have all sorts of fun. I even know the location of Deep Amaskar because I invented it. So, oh, hang on. No, it's I invented where it is, but I know where it is and how it operates. Yeah, so... I have the keys to the Forgotten Realms.
I just think being a predator in the Forgotten Realms universe would be so fucking badass.
Yeah. You'll probably find something similar to them, like,
Like, yeah, fuck goblin arrows in my predator suit. I just clearing dungeons, just going on epic high fantasy adventures in a predator suit. And just, I want to see, all the locations. I want to go to Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, up to Icewind Dale. Yeah,
I imagine something like a Knoll bounty hunter would operate exactly like a predator, just collecting skull trophies and stuff like that and eating their prey and being drawn to hunt down the biggest and strongest in the area.
Imagine your trophy room in the Forgotten Realms. It's basically the monster manual.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to complete the monster manual. All right, Fred.
Well, mine is not the Forgotten Realms, for those of you who are wondering if we were going to all go that way. It would have to be Oz from the book or movie, The Wizard of Oz, because I just really like the fact that it's colourful. It's a fantastical world. It's got strange environments and strange creatures. And it's been the one thing that I've always gravitated towards the most. I didn't realize just how much of an impact The Wizard of Oz had on me growing up, because reading the book, watching the movie, it's like almost everything when I think about it, it's such a wild place. And it's always got a sort of a quirky, weird, and funny elements to it. And that's the one. That's my happy lounge place.
How does Lee fit into Oz?
Lee
nunchucking munchkins at the beginning.
He fits in there perfectly. He'll be happy skipping along the yellow brick road. Thank you very much, and he will have a great time with the munchkins. And I'm sure Lee will have be great friends with Glinda the Good Witch. So no problems. And I'm sure there's a Wicked Witch of the south, the north, and the west one's already gone, but there might be an east one as well. Hang on, that's already gone as well. The west and east are already gone, right? So it's just I'm sure there's something else that we can hear. There'll be plenty of things there to deal with.
Give the lion some sort of like Eastern philosophy to deal with getting his courage.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. Not necessarily. No. I think he fits in perfectly fine. Look, he fits in as well as a talking lion, a talking scarecrow, and a talking tin man. I mean, come on.
The other option, of course, is Narnia. Narnia is a compelling alternate dimension to go to. Although the amount of it's basically Christian propaganda that when you look at it objectively, because it is like all of the characters and stuff. Like clearly, Aslan is Jesus in the story, how he sacrifices himself for everybody else's sins and stuff. And there's a lot of other, particularly astrological references to Christianity and stuff in there, which is.
I'm a Christian, but I do not want to go to Narnia. Thank you very much.
Plus, I don't like Turkish delight.
I love it. I would have been a sucker for the Queen for sure. I would have been Eustace or whoever.
Okay. Now that our setting is chosen, let's equip ourselves for step 3. Select your weapon.
Right.
Pick your legendary weapon your avatar will wield. It can be from any fictional universe. What is your weapon of choice?
On the one hand, a staff of power in in Forgotten Realms makes perfect sense of my character, because he has like wizard leanings. He's not really a wizard. He started off as a thief, and picked up magic along the way. But Catelli Bonadus's hand crossbow with alchemical rounds, alchemical bolts that explode or melt things on contact, is right up my character's alley. So he basically it's a light, essentially missile launching weapon. So the idea, and he's also got portable hole rounds. So inside his short crossbow bolt, which is basically a bolt is what they call a crossbow arrow, and it's a chunky little thing. The hand crossbow itself is all made of metal, and paid great expense to get it dwarven crafted. And the bolt is essentially a small portable hole inside with a cylinder that's over top of it that is pushed forward, and when the bolt hits its object, it basically forces that little portable hole inside the shaft of it forward into another portable hole in the front of the arrow. They then combine and create an astral portal which sucks everything into the ethereal realm. So it's essentially a goodbye bolt that creates a sphere of nothing that you drop into.
And then they get devoured by phase spiders.
Yeah. They have to figure out how to get back from the ethereal realm. Yeah.
Or
I guess it may also be the astral realm. I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit up in the air with 5th edition. But that's it. And it also fires like acid bolts and radiant light and all that sort of stuff. He's got a bandolier of different ammos for different types of monsters, because he's a monster ecology expert, so he knows what the weaknesses of most things are. He can quickly figure it out. Also, it must be said that Picaroon's primary weapon is his expendable adventuring parties that he never mentions. Ever. And he never mentions how many people have died on his adventures. He's always the one that comes out of it with the lore. It's like many halflings died to bring you this information.
So don't accept any quests from Picaroon.
That's right. Yeah, he's immortal. Nobody else is. Yeah.
He's a bad quest giver.
Yeah, he's bad. He's a bad companion.
All right, Fred.
Okay, so I'm going a different route. I decided I would like to be wielding a pen. A pen that turns into a sword. The same pen.
I was going to say the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah, just stop. It's my pun there. So Percy Jackson, the book and the movies had a pen that turns into a sword, and this way I can engage in many catchphrases, puns, and jokes regarding the pen being mightier than the sword as I kill monsters, sort of Jason Bourne-like with my pen. And if the pen can't get it done, and I can't stab him to death with my pen, it can transform into a sword, and then I will stab him to death with the sword. So yeah, it's easy to disguise too. Like somebody says, "Do you have a weapon on you?" And you say, "No, because I've just got a pen." That's it. It's not a weapon. Looks. It's very much the idea that I want to be able to have a weapon that nobody can take off me. Bum bum bum.
Mm-hmm.
That's mine. My phone is ringing. I got to deal with this. Give me a sec.
Talking of Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, I was at a gaming convention. We have a gaming convention in New Zealand, kind of like our national gaming convention called Armageddon, which is basically just like our version of Gen Con or whatever, or PAX more like.
Sorry about that.
And it's kind of a commercial thing. But they also, that's one of the few events where major stars from sci-fi shows and stuff like that show up. So Barrowman from Doctor Who and Torchwood is a regular. He's very different from his on-screen Captain Jack persona in real life. He's very camp. He's massively fun. He's very engaging with the audience, and really hilarious. And we were in the auditorium. We were sitting there. They had the guys from Stargate SG-1. So the guy who plays Teal'c and another one of the actors who plays Teal'c's mentor was there. Both very, very cool guys and lots of anecdotes and stuff. It was a really good sit down and conversation. And once they get over the Kiwi accent, they find that we have lots of intelligent questions and things like that, which is great. But at first, you can always see on Americans' faces when the first person stands up and starts talking, and they get that look on their face like, "Oh, I'm talking to a person with special needs," and then they realize it's just the accent. It's like, on the episode, that does sound like somebody with Down syndrome. Anyway,
welcome to our Down syndrome podcast.
It was a
3 middle-aged men dealing with Down syndrome.
Yeah,
Find each other through fantasy.
Down syndrome people are happiest people you'll ever meet. Anyway, so there was a problem where they brought in the actor from Percy Jackson Lightning Thief right away. As soon as the actors from Stargate SG-1 got up and walked off stage, the other guys were coming on stage, and at that point, all of the people who were Stargate SG-1's fans got up and left the auditorium, and it was about 90% of them, leaving behind some 9-year-olds and others who had seen Percy Jackson, but nobody was there to see them. And so when they walked out, everybody left. So that was just, you could see them just get crushed. Like, oh my God, nobody likes us. The movie sucks. And yeah, their faces just dropped, and they must have had just like the worst experience. Yeah, never come back to New Zealand again.
Yeah, I think the worst one for that would probably be Kevin Smith. He used to always go last at Comic-Con. He'd have the last panel, and he was announcing his big movie, and he did it just before J.J. Abrams announced Force Awakens. And he got John Williams, as part of his announcement, he had John Williams Orchestra outside Comic-Con.
Oh, no.
So Kevin Smith came on, Hall H was packed. J.J. Abrams announced The Force Awakens, and then everyone left to watch John Williams perform outside. And he had like 30 people at Comic-Con.
Oh,
sorry. But,
yeah.
J.J. Abrams apparently paid him back by giving him a cameo in the film as a stormtrooper or something. So, okay, my turn. So the Predator already has quite a few cool weapons, and I was kind of going in keeping with his style. I've decided to go from one of my favorites from the 80s, which I don't know how practical it is. I've gone with the glaive from the movie Kroll.
Right.
Because I think it's in keeping with my Predator suit.
The world's first drone weapon? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a giant shuriken.
Has anyone ever considered the fact that you could weaponize just a drone itself? I mean, it's a little device with these rotating blades that it flies with. Amp the power up a little bit, weaponize those blades, and send it straight at somebody. It's a glaive.
Yeah, I'm not fucking around in the Forgotten Realms. I'm here to collect trophies.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, it's very much a weapon of its time. Kroll is not really a great movie. It hasn't held up very well, but that weapon was super cool.
Reading about the grueling...
hold up when it was released. Let's be real.
I mean, spoilers, but he didn't actually kill it with the glaive in the end anyway. It was just a tool that was along for the ride, but it didn't really play that huge a part in the movie.
No.
And it was kind of ridiculous. It was just like, oh, we got this really cool prop. Like, look at this thing that this guy made. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like, this is the magic weapon. Really? Not like a sword or a lance or something?
That's pretty much that film in a nutshell. Like, everything just went into the props, and it looked cool, but it had no substance, no story. I think the bad guy's motivation was he was just horny. He just
pretty much.
Wanted that one good lady.
The script started out as basically they were competing. They wanted to make a Star Wars story, but the guy that was doing all of the prop work and all that sort of stuff was just like not into it at all. And at Pinewood Studios, it's a notoriously cold, miserable place to make a movie. And the swamp area that they had was all flooded out. It was freezing cold. Like, those guys were like wearing jackets and freezing and getting immersed in the water and stuff like that. It was like a horrible, miserable experience for these guys.
Yeah.
So I think they did a fantastic job. And you can see, like, the guy, when he was climbing up the mountain to get the glaive, he was really climbing a mountain because he's a mountain climber by, his hobby. And then when you see Robbie Coltrane and Liam Neeson and stuff, and they're wrestling the fire mares, There were no stunt doubles doing that shit, and they were jumping onto Clydesdales on rocky slopes and stuff, and you could probably tell that those guys were getting the shit kicked out of them. But they were very they were all in their youth and in their prime, and you see a very fit and active Liam Neeson who looks like he could kick your ass, and even Robbie Coltrane was reasonably fit and healthy, which is crazy.
The Cyclops was cool in it as well.
Oh, Rel, yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Every hero needs a base of operations. Let's establish yours. Step 4, establish your home base. Where will your avatar retreat between adventures? Describe your ideal home base or lair. This can be from any fictional universe. I probably don't need to keep adding that. We've worked that out by now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr. Pickett.
Well, most people know that the Sage hangs out at Candlekeep. He's got a permanent tower facing the ocean in the least popular part, actually, because it freezes during the winter. So he hangs out there during the summer pretty much. And in wintertime, he goes off and does other things. But he's recently constructed the High Hand Tower on Mintan Island, or one of the islands of Mintan, where Hundarth, the big red dragon, used to live. So, yeah. But he also hangs out in the ethereal realm and all sorts of other places in the Forgotten Realms. So, yeah. But if you want to contact him, send a self-addressed envelope to Candlekeep, care of the... just kidding. Yeah. So it's a nice, comfy hangout, and most of the time he's on the road. So his lair is just basically where he keeps all of his books and journals and things like that.
Okay. Fred?
Me? Sure. Mine's a little different. I think probably the coolest home base that I could possibly have for my avatar is the Fortress of Solitude from the Superman movie, the crystal structure. It's got to be
little drafty.
No. It's
You got Marlon Brando poking in for no reason.
It's perfectly climatized. You know, it's alien technology. It's definitely bizarre, definitely alien. If you noticed that Lois Lane, when she was visiting, she never froze to death. She was running around in a skimpy silk pink nightgown or whatever the heck it was. So I think I'll be fine. I think it will be perfectly fine. And yeah, this is the place. I think it's a super cool lair.
Cool.
It sums up your personality that your ideal fantasy location is a Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah. In the comics, the Fortress of Solitude has got it's got a miniaturized Kryptonian city in a sphere. It's got the key to it is so tremendously heavy that only Superman can lift it and unlock the door. It's got Crypto, his dog. It's got a robot. It's got robot clones of Superman who are basically the manservants of the property. And it's got all of his captured super weapons, like null beams and all that sort of stuff that he's got in a rogues gallery of enemies that he's fought. So it's incredibly dangerous location. That
got all the knowledge of Krypton is kept there as well.
I love the idea, and all those robotic supermen. They'll be replaced by robotic Lees. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'll just rip off that cape and get rid of those stupid long johns, and we're in business. Redress them, no problems.
You have offended my family, and you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
Yes, and as for that city, hey man,
old Lee might want to put a shirt on. It's a bit cold.
Yeah, no, that's why he's relentlessly training just to stay warm.
No. I think I'll be fine. I can put on some silk pink.
Is it cold in here, or are you just happy to see me?
A silk pink top and bottom. I'm constantly walking around in my pajamas. I'll be fine.
He broke into the room by slicing the window with his nipple.
Oh, dear.
All right. My ideal home base is going to be in Waterdeep. My lair is going to be hidden inside a classic blockbuster video store, equipped with a couch, endless snacks, video games, and a jukebox. But I want it in Waterdeep.
Like a man cave in Waterdeep. Yeah.
Just with all the movies. Just somewhere to chill.
Yeah.
Got all my snacks from the modern world. all my films from the. This is going to be how I stay in touch with not being in Faerun. So I want it as a false front, so no one knows. So, but when you walk in there, it's just like it's a Blockbuster video, just with a couch, TV.
I would dig that
how
for
big
sure.
is the TV, and what type of TV will it be?
I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, just a decent sized 50-inch plasma will do me.
Okay, all right. Is it 4K or is it 3D?
Oh, we'll go 4K. Yeah, I don't like 3D.
Yeah. Okay.
But just endless movies. All the movies just get constantly updated. Jukebox is basically Spotify. I'm just chilling. It's basically what I've got now. I'm just converting my garage into Waterdeep.
I just got an orb that I sit down and contemplate for hours at a time.
You spend lots of time playing with your ball.
Yeah, I
Thank
contemplate.
God you don't have to.
I contemplate the orb. I'm doing strange things with my eyebrows. If you, to those of you who can't see me at home,
in my downtime, I record a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. To cover vast distances, you will need a mode of transport. Let's choose yours. Step 5. Choose your vehicle or mount. What'd you go with? AJ?
I've got an uncle who's a bronze dragon, and he gives me lifts to places if I need them. He usually spends his time transformed poorly into a humanoid shape. He usually retains a big dragon tail, which makes it kind of obvious. And he tends to, like, his breath weapon comes out in the form of like a cigar that he's smoking. But he's been Picaroon's companion for quite a while, and he calls him. Picaroon calls him uncle, but he actually hatched him, so it's kind of strange. A lot of people are like, oh, you. So he's like a half dragon. Is like, no. He's got some dragon DNA, but it's not that guy. No, he just hung out with the bronze dragons in Var, the Golden, and those areas for a long time, which is where there's a lot of bronze dragons before it got flooded. So he just flies on a dragon when he's conserving his energy. But he likes traditional travel methods. So he likes slow sea passages and caravan, and he walks across the Forgotten Realms quite often because he's a hobbit. He likes walking barefoot through the forest, and he doesn't travel on main roads and trade routes. Generally, he takes little-known backtracks across mountains and through forests that were established by elves thousands of years ago. Yeah.
Is he a redhead, your uncle? Being bronze dragon?
No. No, he usually impersonates other famous wizards.
Okay. Fred?
Me? I want to keep it simple. I'm going to go with what I think is probably the most useful mount, and that is I want a unicorn. I want a unicorn. I want a unicorn because it can look after itself, can't be caught, impossible to catch that unicorn. Teleports, it can heal. One of the great things about having a unicorn is that, when you need it to come and get you, it'll show up. It doesn't have to worry about walls and doors. It can get through, they teleport around. So yeah, that was my preference was the unicorn. And
do you have a name? Name for your unicorn?
Well, for me, since I have a thing for the Lone Ranger, and the Lone Ranger used to ride a white horse called Silver, I'm going to be calling my unicorn White Silver. Okay, right. White Silver.
I should mention that the bronze dragon companion's name is Trasquinyabar, and the sage also has a pseudo dragon that's his pet companion that lives on the tower that he's on, called Macrotaxel.
Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know why I'm going with this, I had a Dungeons & Dragons campaign that JP ran for us. And at high level, we were all riding around on unicorns. And I know you're thinking, that's way too much. But the proviso was, since the goddess of unicorns, and we were knights of God, what the hell is the name?
Maliki?
No, something else. Can't remember. But goddess of the unicorns, knights of the unicorns.
Lurel? Something was starting with an
Yeah,
L.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we had to make sure that we did not get our unicorns killed during the campaign because the Guardians had made it very clear that things
wouldn't
would
get your
go
deposit
very
back.
badly for us. It did not matter what level we were.
Yeah.
And JP was like, yeah, if one of those unicorns actually dies, you are so fucked. So we would use the unicorns as drop ships. Like teleport in, drop us, leave us there, and teleport out. And like, yeah. Or we would ride in.
We will ride into battle, and this will be our
something would
steed.
happen, and the unicorns would teleport away, and we would just land on our feet or in the grass, and then get up and get going. Yeah. So that's my choice.
Nice. So I was thinking, how does a predator want to get round in Faerun from his blockbuster video? Of course, he wants to drive a speeder bike.
Oh yeah.
Through the streets of Waterdeep.
Real Darth Maul vibes.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I am pretty much
have a couple of spectators, those little mini beholderkin. Have them as your little drones that are flying around with you.
My only concern with, a speeder bike is I'm not known for my hand to eye coordination, and I don't know how many trees I would end up crashing into. Because they're pretty. I don't know. Is that the bike doing the navigating, or is it the pilot? Because
no, you have to do the. I think what you'll need is you'll have to have a provisor to add in a drone, a droid that constantly repairs your bike after you crash it constantly into trees and buildings and so forth.
Yeah. Definitely have some contingency spells like Featherfall and Invulnerability Shield and stuff like that in case of emergency or dislodgement.
I'd probably have a speeder bike, but I'd stick to open roads and go to a leisurely place.
Yeah. Can speeder bikes go wrong? Yes. Watch the original Judge Dredd movie with Stallone.
And I just like the way they take off and the noise they make as well. They're just I needed to have something Star Warsy in there, and that was my go-to.
I don't understand why you didn't have a lightsaber.
It was my favorite action. The speeder bike was my favorite action figure I owned, and it's I really like the speeder bike rider helmet as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
So are you going to add a lightsaber to your as a secondary weapon to your glaive?
No.
Just checking.
I'm not going to be greedy.
The best thing about a lightsaber is that it can instantly make toast out of bread by just slicing it.
I would hurt myself with a lightsaber.
Yeah, same. I'd drop it and would go down to the core of the earth. I'm like, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Lightsabers are incredibly dangerous.
Yeah,
really bad idea.
My wife gets nervous when I use a knife around the house. So, okay, with our transport sorted, it's time to gather, choose a mentor. So this will be the guide for our characters. Who's everyone chosen as their mentor?
Ooh,
AJ? Mentor? It would probably be tricky. Well, there is another. I mean, there are the immortals that are contacted to apply for membership, because normally it's a Mystara thing. But I guess his mentor would really be Elminster Ulmar, who comes up later on and with another subsequent question. But it would make sense that he would talk to some of the longest lived members of the Forgotten Realms, which also is Larlock, the lair of Warlock's Crypt, which is quite close to Baldur's Gate, actually. Larlock is one of the oldest living beings, although technically he's undead, Lich. He's one of the oldest living beings still around that remembers the fall of Netheril and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. And there's also some elven liches that are incredibly old as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But dragons don't have the monopoly on long memories and long life.
So Ed Greenwood, Elminster?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I'd like to find out if Eric L. Boyd and George Krashos and Bruce Cordell had avatars in the Forgotten Realms like And also, Elminster is less his avatar than Mert, the moneylender, is more Ed Greenwood's identifying himself in the Forgotten Realms. He often says, "It's like I don't really think about Elminster as my alter ego." But he does show up at conventions and has a hat and says, "You can either ask me or ask Elminster." And when he puts the Elminster hat on, then his mind has come in close to his side whenever somebody mentions something that is about to get a comment from him, which is incredibly bawdy, which he's well known for. Ed Greenwood's Forgotten Realms is a lot darker than the published work, and he's also doesn't shy away from making off-color jokes about wizards, staff knobs, and things like that.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I felt bad because my Mert is a bit of a sexual deviant. No, I felt like I might have been disrespecting Ed.
Yeah. No, Ed will be the first one to tell you about orgies and all sorts of stuff that go on. And
yeah, that's the way I read him. So that's the way I portray him. He's always at the theatre and he's always with a different young lady.
Yep. Yeah.
Fred, who you got, mate?
So going in the style of not everything's from the Forgotten Realms, I will be continuing this since I didn't realize that talking about the Oasis or the Realmvoid would be let's talk about pretty much everything from the Forgotten Realms.
Well, it's just me, you know.
I know.
Mine's a hybrid.
Yeah, yours is a hybrid. Yes. Mine is definitely a hybrid. I have selected Wonder Woman from the DC Comics. Why? Because she's wise. I would far prefer it to be the Linda Carter version, because I think the Linda Carter version came across as actually not being either over-sexualized, stupid, or slutty, or what's the other word? Not very bright. Like a noob, and I don't want that. I want the Linda Carter version. And also, I'm picking Wonder Woman because, one, it's not a white, old, grayed man, an old fart that's sitting, in a rocking chair and with, I don't know, some sort of sodding hat and, counting the seconds before he dies after living a long and, so I didn't want that. No, thank you very much. I've got enough of that. Let's have the other one. Thank you. Yeah, I'll pick that.
Another good Forgotten Realms option is Tasha from Tasha's Guide to Everything. She's, or Igwilf, as she's also known. She's a person.
Hell no, would I trust that girl?
No, you don't. You don't have to trust her. We're talking about somebody who's your mentor who can tell you, show you the ropes, and like. She's got a lot of experience. She's got way more experience in outer planet stuff than Elminster does. She's traveled the multiverse.
Yeah, I'm sure she has.
And then there's Mordekainen as well.
I do not trust that girl. Yeah, no, she's not to be trusted at all.
No, she isn't. She's not trustworthy. Anybody whose ex-boyfriend is Grast, a demon lord, you got to feel inadequate against a six-fingered man.
Yeah. Yeah, I can trust Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, but I cannot trust Tasha. Not a chance would it ever be. Yeah.
So I went for an old graying man wearing a robe and a hat. I went with Gandalf. Just for his wise advice and his love of the halfling leaf. Also, I want him to read me bedtime stories when I'm chilling because he's got a great voice.
Aragorn also tells a pretty good bedtime story when he's describing elven culture.
Yeah, so having after my hard day of collecting trophies around Faerun, I just want to unwind in my blockbuster with Ian McKellen reading me a story. That sounds pretty good to me. And he has good advice. He's lived a life. So the total opposite of what Fred said.
There are many magic rings in this world built by Baggins, none of them to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
I do a pretty good element. Pretty good Gandalf.
Okay. This is going to be an interesting one. With our mentor chosen, it's time to build our party. So assemble your party. If you could invite any 3 characters to join you on your quest, who are you going to choose and why?
Right.
This is going to
so I've got
this is where things get weird.
talking of Lord of the Rings. Remember the high level adventuring party from the Hobbit movie where you got Gandalf shows up with Galadriel and those guys, and they're just like they're obviously a level 20 player character party, and then at the end of it, Galadriel does the whole banishment thing. So Elminster is my wizard, and Dris Duerden is my skirmish fighter. Catelli Bonadus is my cleric, and I, of course, am the bard. Jack of all trades. A little bit wizard, a little bit rogue, a little bit this, a little bit that. Yeah.
The classic adventure party.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Dris is pretty much John Wick.
Well, with Dris on board, I cannot be defeated because he's got the Mary Sue. He cannot die.
No.
If he dies and another novel appears, he resurrects automatically. Yeah, I did consider the adventuring group of the Mithril Hall. So Bruenor Battlehammer and Cadbury and Elmans, Wolfgar, and also Artemis and Treri and Jarl Axel would be a really good option for a rogue as well. But you can't go past Dris being able to drop an army of orcs. He's just ridiculous.
I love Artemis.
Yeah, he is cool. But of course, Artemis is crazy. He's driven. He's obsessed. Yeah. And last I saw, he was like hanging off a tree, broken and husk of a man. He probably lived, but yeah, he was mortal, so his fighting days are very limited.
Okay, Fred, who you got?
Well, mine's a little different for various reasons. I selected Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo. So I know. I get what you're saying, people.
So that makes you C-3PO?
No, it does not. It does not. It makes me Lee.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So just leave that alone. No, I picked them because they were really the characters from movies and fiction that I used to hang out as a teenager with the most. Like if I was daydreaming or I was having a dream at night, it was usually I was going on an adventure with those 3 characters. It certainly got a little bit more complicated when the second movie came out because there was some sort of relationship going on here, and then it all started to make a bit more sense when we got to Return of the Jedi, and it was like, okay, all right, now we've established what the pecking order is. But yes, that was those were the characters that I hung out with all the time, and I like the fact that Han was probably the luckiest tin bum under the sun, and you got to have luck with you. You've got to have somebody who has brains and actually makes sensible decisions, and that was Princess Leia. And then Luke Skywalker, who seemed to have an uncanny ability to be able to pick up Jedi skills at a very late age and without too much trouble. But I think I never ever dreamed of Luke Skywalker hanging out on an island with little aliens drinking green fucking milk. It just never occurred to me to have that adventure.
It's blue. I believe they use a lot of blue to represent the algae packs, and like the standard rations they have is all algae stuff. So humans mostly eat like processed vat farmed food and stuff. I don't think they eat a lot of meat and things because like you think Coruscant being a planet covered with a worldwide city. Well, what the hell do they eat? Is it just purely imported, or do they have massive vat farms and stuff like that and produce protein bars and all that sort of stuff? And those little blue biscuits and blue drinks and blue, like she pours the powder onto the thing and then it goes and turns into a little cake. I see that exactly in the future of humanity. That's what we'll be eating is like 3D printed protein bars.
I think Fred was meaning when Luke turns into a weird old hermit.
Oh, right. Yeah. That too. But I mean, why not?
Milking that walrus creature.
But why not dust the galaxy with life forms that produce proteins suitable for humans?
I don't care. I just never had a fantasy. I don't care whether it's green or blue. I do not want to hang out with
That
Luke Skywalker.
That was a bizarre choice, that scene.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to suckle from the fetid teat of a sea creature.
Yeah, just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not drink milk. Okay.
Okay.
That was great. The bit where he like speared a big fish and stuff was cool. And then it got really weird.
I went with a different route. I was like, okay, 3 people. I want someone that can cook, someone that's funny, and I also want a tank. So I went with Samwise Gamgee, Donkey from Shrek, and a T-800.
You've got to explain that selection, dude. You've got to go into a bit more detail. We need to know the inside story.
Well, Samwise, he's loyal and brave. He's pretty much the hero of the thing, and he likes to cook. He's always cooking. He's always making sure you got food.
Potatoes.
Yeah, so I won't go hungry. I just find Donkey funny. He's got heaps of boundless energy. He's always positive. And if I program my T-800 all right to protect me, then no one's fucking with me. Like, he's just going to be guarding my blockbuster while I'm out.
I think I'd have the mimetic polyalloy, and I'd wear him as a suit day to day, so he'd be my power armor. No reason why not.
Yeah, I'd kind of use him as like animated armor, I guess, for my blockbuster video.
That's a smart choice, because I think out of the 3 of those choices, Donkey is the smartest choice, and I'll explain to you why. Because Donkey is married to a dragon. Yeah. And if you mess with Donkey, you're messing with the dragon. So I think that's your ace in the hand. That's your wild card when somebody decides to get a bit crazy. Yeah, and a T-800 doesn't do its job, then dragon.
Yeah, his dragon's like the fantasy version of the Latino girlfriend. It's like, don't mess with me, man. I'm warning you. It's like, oh, what are you going to do? It's not what I'm going to do.
As a predator is cruising the streets of Waterdeep on a speeder bike with a talking donkey on the back. All right. Are we there yet?
We will if you press down on the pedal and go a bit faster than 30k.
Yeah, I'm not a good driver. He might give away some of my stealth options with my predator suit though, if I take him out on a hunt.
No, he's bait. He's bait, mate. Donkey's bait.
Yeah.
You leave him, and everything gravitates to him, and you just pick them off from the outside while you're invisible.
Yeah, that's what Gandalf would tell me how to work it. So, okay. This is going to be an interesting one. Step 8. Romance can make or break an adventure. Pick your romantic interest. If your avatar could have a romantic partner from any fictional universe, who would it be?
This actually caused me this was the hardest question for me to think of. Not only because my orientation is ace anyway, but so looking at all the characters that they've got in Realms, there's obvious ones like the goddesses of like beauty and stuff like Suni and
I really threw you out with that Realmvoid thing, didn't I?
Yeah. No, my answer is actually Erin Tarn, who is from Palladium's Rifts universe. She is a person who has explored the Rifts post-apocalyptic Earth. So she has knowledge of pre-apocalypse and stuff. And she is the narrator that describes a lot of the world through, basically, she's Kevin Simbeta and Mary Ann back then. Their voice piece, like the guide, the voice that describes the coalition states and the state of America and the rest of the world as far as she knows it. And she's also a revolutionary and rebel who is sympathetic to the Federation of Magic as opposed to the coalition states, who are very they're seen as a totalitarian sort of Nazi regime. But really what they are champions of humanity and Earth being the property of humans, which is seen as problematic in places where they accept dimensional beings as refugees. So the coalition states doesn't, but they do embrace mutant dog animal soldiers and psychics and that sort of stuff. But they just don't like magic and don't trust magic because they see it as the source of all the problems of the world. And Erin Tan walks the path between that, and her journals, of course, are what inspired my character to be a journal writing sage. So yeah. And she's not bad looking, and I mean, I'm old enough that my love interest appropriately is your mum. So yeah.
Okay.
My mum.
Yeah. Hate to say it, but my mum is over 70, so that's not
right. Yeah, well,
my mum's
not your
86,
mum.
mate, so.
Yeah, no, not your mum, but probably the viewers, the listeners.
We've entered the your mumma joke situation.
Yeah. Hey there, listener. Tell your mum how you doing.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred.
Okay, so this was a hard one because my first response was Bo, and I realized that I could not explain Bo. She's an archer, but she's not in any fiction or publicly known stuff, so it would not make any sense to select her. So I had to pick something that you would be able to identify with, since nobody knows who the hell Bo is. So instead, I selected 3 possibilities. It'd have to be Mary Marvel, played by Grace Fulton in the Shazam movies, or Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. But since there's the mentor, that's probably not going to be such a clash of interests there. And then there's also Deja, played by Lynn Collins from John Carter, Princess of Mars, or John Carter from Mars, or whatever the heck you want to.
If we're going pure sexy, I'm going to change my answer to Erin Gray's character, Colonel Wilma Deering from Buck Rogers.
Fair enough. I can understand.
Silver jumpsuit, space expert fighter pilot, and she's pretty handy with blaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I picked those choices because, one, they're kind and smart. They're pretty wise in terms of their age. Beautiful, which is always nice. I'm not exactly that myself. They're very loyal, like you can count on them, and they know how to look after themselves. They're not the damsel in distress. They're quite capable of handling things. So those were my choices, and I probably would be, to be honest, I would be leaning more towards Deja from John Carter myself. Yeah, that would be, but yeah, my top choice would be Bo, but nobody who knows who the hell Bo is, so that'll work.
I needed to be careful here because out of the 3 of us, I'm the only one that's married.
Yes.
But the good thing is, I don't think my wife listens to this. So.
Yeah.
At first, I was the same. I went sexual. I went Barbarella, Jane Fonda. She's
Elvira,
just absolutely
Elvira, Princess of the Night. Thank you.
Absolutely flawless. But then I had a think about it, and my answers. I can't really say why because it's going to tie into a later question. But I've gone with Selene from Underworld, as portrayed by Kate Beckinsale.
Mm-hmm.
She's a badass, and she's super sexy.
Yeah, and she's a vampire that will probably not bite you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, at least you asked nicely.
Yeah. Well, you have to really convince her, I think, for that to happen.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's just started pissing down here.
No, it hasn't. It isn't here. It's a very fine day. It's very warm, and I'm missing all of it because I'm inside in my little office. But that's all right. That's all right. I think I think this was by far, as AJ said, the hardest of the questions you presented. It was really difficult to do this one.
Yeah. I only put this one in because I wanted 10 questions. I was struggling with one.
I think it was a good question because it was so hard to actually come up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
a reason why.
Uh, Step 9. Choose your soundtrack. No adventure is complete without the perfect soundtrack. What music or score?
Krull soundtrack is what I choose.
You choose the Krull?
Yep, Krull
As your
soundtrack. Yep, James Horner is my go-to for fantasy. Awesome. I love French horns. I love the heroic fantasy of it. It's a great soundtrack.
Okay.
And it perfectly fits
I don't know the
realms.
Krull one. What else has James Horner done?
He's done Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. Lots of stuff. You'll recognize James Horner. He's passed away sadly, but his music is classic fantasy and sci-fi. Yeah, it's in a lot of real classic movies. And Krull is a really good example of that. And you can hear the same sort of composition in a lot of the fantasy movies and stuff that he did. Yeah,
I think I'm going to watch Krull today.
Yeah, we should.
I haven't thought about that film for ages. All right, Fred.
I'm just making a note. I have to watch Krull today. Okay, I didn't realize that was a requirement. I think
no,
all
it's
your
not a
choice...
requirement. It's come up a few times today, and I haven't seen it for years.
Yeah,
Krull really was them trying to make a Star Wars movie, but they did it in a sort of a more fantasy sort of way. But that's the reason why the suits of armor look very futuristic, and the Slayers use electrical projectile weapons and are so alien.
Yeah, it was
those little slug brains that come out when they die.
Yeah, and the teleporting fortress, of course. Very very cool, and the way it sort of destroys itself and flies via anti-gravity off the planet was really unique. Like I've never seen anything like that in any other movie.
It was really, really creative. It had some very interesting ideas. I think the problem is that when people watched it, it was so different to what we were expecting.
Yeah.
It was really hard to sort of, and there are a number of scenes in that movie where you can tell they're on a sound stage. It looks very much like Doctor Who, and production level, and then you're like, oh god, they did so well with trying to corral all those Clydesdales, and then the next thing, some of the effects didn't quite work, and some of the scenes didn't quite work.
Yeah,
a lot of it did work really well, and the story didn't quite play out the way that I guess everybody wanted. But the question is a soundtrack. So I have actually picked a couple of different ones. I could not nail it down, and there was another one I was trying to look for, and I could not remember what it was. So I've got 4 of them that I put forward. Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. It's the one with the cannons. That's right. Yep. Yes, exactly. And then if I can't have that one, it would have to be Gonna Fly Now or Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky movies.
Oh, nice.
And another one that I really liked early on was Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler. And those would be my choices. Somewhere in there would be ones that I liked. But Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, I feel like does most of what needs to be done. It's
What's the one from Apocalypse Now?
Flight
of the Valkyries?
Flight of the Valkyries,
Yeah, that would be another epic. That one when the helicopters come in.
Yeah,
Charlie does
Hall of the Mountain King is also cool. That's one of my favorite bits of music ever. Because it's got that escalating. You go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, and it gets more and more like overwhelming until you're in the land. You're in the land of the trolls, and it's great.
Yeah,
the whole story.
I went with Peter Quill's Walkman from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Okay, that wins.
You picked a lot then. There's a lot of songs on that one.
The way that is handled in the movie, the meta-ness of it, that they slot it in as part of the actual story. It's like the soundtrack is a feature of the actual. It's so meta. Like he's got he unwraps the present from his mother that he could never bring himself to open, and it's the next track of things. Oh, it's
yeah. It's just got banger after banger.
Yeah.
There's something cool about a predator riding a speeder bike with a donkey on the back.
Yeah. Even the scene where Ego, the living planet, is telling Peter Quill, it's like, in that song is about me, which is a reflection about his character's ego, that everything is about him. And also it's like he's using it as an excuse for the horrible thing that he did to his mother. It's just like he can't see how reprehensible he is. But yeah, he's just like, well, everybody's expendable.
We grew up in an age where we all had Walkmans as well. So, I remember getting my first Walkman in those those shitty headphones that came with those.
The worst was I had a Sony Discman, the first portable CD playing thing, and it skipped every time you stepped because it wasn't stable. Yeah. So really, it wasn't a Walkman at all. It was a sit on your shelf and listen to your headphones over the thing. But I attempted to use it mobile, but it didn't really work.
Yeah, I found the same thing. I remember having a portable Discman. And it wasn't the very first ones because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah. But, to give you some idea, kids, that cost me $300 to be a first adopter for that tech. Yeah, and it didn't even work very well.
Even later on, they were expensive. But yeah, they never could cope with the fact that you were moving, and if you were moving and you were bumping, it would just skip and skip and skip. You were better to have a Discman, a disc player that was a portable one rather than an actual Discman itself.
Yeah,
because the technology just wasn't good enough to be able to stop.
I remember having to plug a cassette into my car with a cord that plugged into my Discman that I put on my passenger seat while I had my big wallet of CDs.
Yeah.
You try and change at the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would still skip. I think I had to put it in, wrap it up in clothes and stuff, bundle it like a fragile little baby so it wouldn't go over any holes or anything.
It used to drive me crazy. Sitting in the passenger seat and Dad would say, "Hey, put a tape in," and I'd open up the pack and my sister had just she had no respect for putting the tape in the right cover. So I was just like, "Oh, here we go." And it's wait a minute. Why is Enya in the Dire Straits thing? And it drove me crazy.
Yeah. There is a bugbear of mine.
One of the things I think is interesting
to get my revenge every time she comes around, I have no organization in my cutlery drawer. Everything is mixed in together. So it's a hunt every time you want a teaspoon. You got a good chance if you just reach in there, you're going to get a carving knife in the side of the hand. So yeah, beware.
Okay. My autism couldn't deal with it.
No, yeah, that's exactly why I do that. It's like
one of the interesting things about your choice, Nacho, is the Guardians of the Galaxy tapes in there are very much a reflection of James Gunn's
formative.
I guess obsession with music. If you've checked out a little bit about him, he's highly obsessed with comic books, and he's got so many at his home. But music is such a huge thing, and his selection of music for things are often not completely obvious, as to being a good choice. But he seems to be able to hit home just about every single time. He really does think very hard about his music choices, and
they're not generic tunes as well. Some of them are, they're not classic ones that you hear on the radio a lot. There are a few like that, but yeah, I'm very interested to see what he does with Superman. I'm super excited that he's now head of DC and he's making a Superman film, because as much as I like Christopher Reeve's Superman, I don't think we've ever had a definitive Superman film. I think there are problems with the original one. I just don't think we've had that one that just captures everything about the character. Well, for me anyway. So I am excited to see his take on Superman and DC, because he does, like you say, he does wear his passion on his sleeve and puts a lot of effort and love into what he does. So
yeah. And I liked Man of Steel and Henry Cavill's depiction. The only problem is that the movie itself doesn't lift you up enough. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not full of hope.
There's just not quite enough. I mean, they do a great job at just near the very end. They drag you down, you drag you down, and at the very end, he bashes through the gravitational planets modifying machine. But
30 minutes becomes a Hulk film rather than a Superman film.
I didn't have a problem with that. I just felt like, the depiction of the character was let down. At the end, I felt like, okay, I've gone through this roller coaster and I've been brought down, and finally we're going up and we're here. And then the next movies come along and it's depressing as hell. And I'm like, oh my God, the tone is so negative about Superman. So that is Christopher Reeve was such a, let's get real. It was, the initial part of the movie does not line up with the second half of the movie. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And his depiction of Superman is fine, but his depiction of Clark Kent, I always felt to be just a bit too comical, and there's just too many comical characters in there. So it's a hard marry. I really am interested to see what James Gunn can come up with.
What is J.J. Abrams' obsession with putting Beastie Boys songs in Star Trek movies? I mean, I don't object to them within reason, but yeah, he's done a lot.
Yeah.
And even turned it into a weapon used against an alien species, which was an interesting
I like
thing.
that film. I thought Star Trek Beyond was actually an entertaining film.
It was.
Yeah. And it's not, I think it's 90 minutes. And I appreciate it.
Carl Urban absolutely nailed Bones in that. He did that so well.
All right, should we get to the last question?
Yeah.
Okay. So every hero needs a great adversary. Choose your villain. Who is the ultimate villain or antagonist standing in the way of your avatar and their party?
Got two choices. One is Vecna. The other is Asmodeus himself. Vecna.
Why?
Vecna, because the Sage's mission is to record and transmit data about the multiverse, and he's talked about all sorts of cosmological stuff like the Great Old Ones and the Cosmic Vortex, the Immortals, all sorts of stuff, the sources of magic, the gods, what makes gods, the structure of the outer planes, and all that sort of stuff. Tharizdun, what Tharizdun's locked away from, the secret of the Spellweavers. Lots and lots of stuff which Vecna would absolutely turn him into a Nothic for if he wasn't an immortal and protected from that. So, yeah, if it wasn't for other factors, the Sage would have been dead turned into an insane monster long ago by Vecna. And Vecna's mission, really, I mean, I have a joke t-shirt which was quite popular, which was Vecna did nothing wrong. Which is Vecna is protecting secrets that can destroy the multiverse if people discover them. So as far as he is concerned, the ends justify the means. And it's a very H.P. Lovecraft type thing because he realizes that if Tharizdun ever wakes up, he unmakes reality because Tharizdun, he cannot be destroyed because he's like an H.P. Lovecraft. I can't remember the name of the old one, but if he wakes up, the dream that he's having is our reality. So essentially, when he wakes up, we just switch off. Yeah, and it's the same with the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse. That if Tharizdun wakes up, all of the dimensional barriers are like there's no more access to the astral plane. The astral dreadnoughts, for instance, are his avatars, so they become his angels, and the every single beholder becomes one of his basically the new celestials. So all of the horrible demons and things like that came out of his subconscious take over everything, and he unmakes the multiverse because it's broken as far as he is concerned.
That's dark.
Yeah,
it's a big bad.
Yeah. So Vecna is preventing that, and Mordenkainen is obsessed with the balance of the multiverse. So he wants nothing.
That's a really cool twist on Vecna. I've never thought of approaching him that way because obviously, running a really good villain, the villain needs to be the hero in their eyes.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool twist. The idea that he is seeing himself as a guardian of, I know he's the master of secrets, but I never thought of him having it as his idea as he's protecting us. That's a really cool way of thinking of it.
Yeah. I guess mine. I selected two, and I selected Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. So, Palpatine is just the
ultimate comic duo.
He really is. He's just the most evil, self-indulgent, self-important individual who's really all about tyranny and crushing everybody's thoughts and hopes and their life choices.
Yeah.
He is the antithesis of tyranny and the slaver. So it's an easy choice. Darth Vader is, I mean, physically he looks like the baddie, right? There's a reason why he's wearing a helmet and a dark cloak, and he's so tall and intimidating.
He's now more machine than man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But even though he's supposed to have he's like the tragic hero. After seeing the prequel movies, I felt a little bit sorry for him when I saw that little boy in the sand, doing his thing. He occasionally he seemed to be maybe a little bit naive, but he has his heart in the right place. But after seeing the next two movies, the actor playing that Christian, what's his name?
Hayden Christian.
Yeah, my sympathy for Anakin Skywalker gone. Yeah, just burn that bugger to the ground. He's such a self-important, egotistical wanker, and he just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Look, in real life, if you had an individual who was raised without a father to a situation where his community is enslaved on a very harsh planet.
Join a cult at a young age.
Join a cult was thrust into being the chosen one with really no preparation whatsoever, and he was taken from his mother. And then when he finally he was plagued by a psychic connection to her torture while he's being restricted from his love. So he was basically messed up and did his best, I think, for a long time until. And then when his mother was killed by the Sand People and he brutally murdered them, he realized, that he was fundamentally broken. That there was a rage and aggression inside him that he couldn't control. And not only that, but he couldn't be a Jedi because of his passionate love for, and that love, as the Jedi predicted, took him down the path of the dark side. Inevitably, how could it not? And much like Palpatine predated upon his secrecy, his forced secrecy. So Palpatine realized that he was leading a secret life that he could hold over him. So he was blackmailing him by saying, "Look, I'll expose you." The subtext of the threat was there that I can expose you because I understand what you are and what you're doing. And that's your weakness, is that you're hiding your true emotions and your true state from the order that at the same time as excluding you and treating you both as the chosen one, but also as something that's unpredictable and could be a disaster. So they were holding him close like he was an enemy and holding him back whilst and also Palpatine was causing that friction by promoting him and relying on him and basically breaking the hierarchy that had already been established by the masters, of course, hated him and treated him badly. And at the same time, he was thrust into the Clone Wars and became a veteran of a brutal conflict where he didn't have the opportunity to have a different perspective. So really, he made a very complex character, very tragic character, but an understandable character, and he was doomed from the beginning.
Obi-Wan so what was your point?
Obi-Wan didn't really want to be his.
Didn't change my view at all. Burn him.
You could say, was there any redemption for him? No, I think he was fundamentally broken. Yeah.
And Obi-Wan kind of just inherited the master job. He didn't want it.
Yeah. So, in fact, he didn't think it was a good idea.
So he inherited Qui-Gon Jinn's obsession.
Yeah. I think if Qui-Gon had lived and actually been the mentor for Anakin, I think Qui-Gon would have kept Anakin away from a lot of that stuff. I don't think he would have allowed him to be involved in it.
Qui-Gon really should have shown up as a Force ghost at the end because he was the one who unlocked immortality through Force transfer for Obi-Wan. But that was the reason why Obi-Wan was on Tatooine for so long, because he was doing that refining thing to become one with the Force. That's essentially what Luke Skywalker was doing at the end of the movie as well. As we saw, he merged with the Force fully and just dissolved. So Qui-Gon started it. Obi-Wan continued it. Yoda learned it from Obi-Wan, and then Luke learned it eventually as well. But before then, I don't think any of the Jedi just died that way. They just died normally,
I'll give you all of them, but I'm not going to give you Luke Skywalker's vaporizing because he sent an image of himself across the universe. Yeah, no. Yeah. Ryan, that idea sucked. Okay. We have not got we cannot talk about Star Wars on one of these podcasts.
No,
there is no way it's going to go down well.
I actually am on the I don't mind The Last Jedi. So yeah, that would be an interesting conversation because we obviously two different sides of the fence there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rise of the Skywalker though, fuck off.
I liked all of it. I liked all of
it. So mine kind of lines up with my romantic interest, and I've cheated and I've combined two characters into one. So I have gone with Strad von Zorovic, but I would like him to be portrayed by Matt Berry.
What?
New York City. God damn these electronic sex pants.
So Laszlo is more of a charming and eccentric version of Strad. I want a villain that monologue that has really cool evil monologue, speeches.
You just want to be able to shove that dagger in his back while he's not paying attention. I mean, you could have gone with Strahd, which Strahd is just like a paper cut version of Dracula. You might as well just go with Dracula and be done with it. It's essentially the same thing.
I just wanted to include Matt Berry somewhere in my Realmvoid. I didn't know where to put him. We got to the end. He's Strahd.
Matt.
I think Dristu Erden, the way that he writes his journal entries in the novels and stuff, he's a perfect candidate for vampirism because he's already got that self-obsessed emo, analyzing his life choices and lamenting about stuff. He's perfectly suited to be a vampire. It's like, my love. It's like all about me. And it's all a ploy. Like that's the thing with Dungeons and Dragons. You got to understand that Dungeons and Dragons, they're classic vampires. They're not the modern Twilight Sparkle vampires. Like they're not. I'm an emo boy, who's just happens to need to feed on blood. They're a corpse. Okay, it's a corpse possessed by a spirit. Their original soul is gone. It's in the afterlife. The spirit is now taken over their body and is plumbing their memories as a resource, as a it's like a hermit shell, like hermit shell crab. It's using it as a disguise. So it walks around in that corpse. It uses its personality. It uses its torment and its memories as a disguise. And then once you get close enough, then the predator comes out, and you realize it's all just an illusion. No matter what the vampire's been telling you, all it's interested in is sucking your blood. That's it.
I'm a predator with a vampire girlfriend and a vampire friend.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit worried about you, Nacho.
Yeah.
That's one way to stave off prostate cancer, is become a mortal bloodsucker, I suppose.
That was my other reason for choosing Celine from Underworld as well.
Yeah.
No enemy.
Right.
Of course, in real life, she wouldn't be able to move in that outfit.
No. Yeah, so I've got a kind of a
I imagine between scenes, they just picked her up and carried her around. It's like...
have to order her up to get her into a costume.
Yeah, she's more talc than woman at this point.
So I just love Matt Berry. I can listen to him all day, and I don't want a villain that I just have to kill and then that's it. And I want an antagonist that we have ongoing conflicts, and he has evil plans that I constantly have to.
There's an early series with Matt Berry in it. Where they're playing supernatural investigators. I haven't seen the series, but I really want to watch it. And it's got, I think it's got Richard Ayoade in it.
I sent it to you.
Yeah, that's right. And I was like, what?
No,
Matt Berry stuff I haven't seen.
It's Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. It's all on YouTube.
Yeah.
I sent it to you and told you to watch it because I want to talk about it.
Right.
It's so bizarre. I'll
Also,
put
it
the
must
link
be
up.
mentioned that Matt Berry is also a musician that produces albums of his songs,
Yeah,
and his songs are hilarious and great as well. His music.
Yeah, he's I just love his voice.
He's definitely on my list of if I had to go on a pub crawl in Britain, it would be with Matt Berry for sure.
Yeah, so that's the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do any letters this week, so that was interesting. So we've got, what do we got to summarize? We've got Bruce Lee in Oz with his pen sword, hanging out in his Fortress of Solitude on his unicorn with Wonder Woman.
The summary statement is pretty good. If you continue with that summary statement, I'm probably going to lose bowel control and have to go to bed.
hanging out with Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia. Yeah. By fighting Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I was really tempted to go the power gamer route and go like Goku or Vegeta as my avatar, companions of Sentry and Black Bolt and those guys, Silver Surfer, as my adventuring party.
Yeah, you should. I think I might have confused you by calling it the Realmvoid, that you thought it was all about Forgotten Realms.
It's just that I'd already answered all these questions in my channel. I thought this is a good opportunity to consolidate who my alter ego really is, in the Forgotten Realms and what perspective I write from. That's kind of been a phase, but I'm moving away from that now and getting back to the classic monster ecologies that incorporate all the lore from all the editions. Now more than anything, because we've gone into this new edition and we haven't got the monster manual for it yet. So I don't know what's going to be in the new monster manual. Are they just going to reprint the stuff that was in the 2014 one, or are they going to go an entirely new bunch of monsters? I don't know. Be interesting to see.
I noticed you're starting to do character breakdowns, Fred, as well. Class breakdowns.
I've only just started. But I mean, to be fair, me breaking down 2024, I already had a fair idea of what they were up to with the Unearthed Arcana, and it's not the direction that me or my group want to go in, and so I had already started rewriting all the classes and the races and making new stuff, and they're all cackling with laughter in my group and like, yeah, and they're like, Fred, if I'm going to play a monk, I want to be able to fight monkey style. Where's my fucking monkey style monk? And I'm like, okay, all right, guys, okay, so we're on the same page, even though we range from 56 through to about 29 or something like that. So the age group's quite wide, but I mean, honestly, there are some really good things they're doing with the classes, but they still have no idea how to design high-level character advancement. They have absolutely no idea. And I know why the problem is because their time frames are so short and they can't play test for high level. And so none of that stuff is really designed for high level, And so, yeah, it's, I guess the wizard, which I love wizards, the breakdown was a combination of some good stuff they've done, but a lot of things that kind of missed the mark. It's a shame. I'm going to do the monk next. The monk's the next most favorite character for me to talk about.
Yeah, I made a monk the other day, and fuck, it's OP.
Well, that's the problem. It's now the best martial class.
I went with the Goliath subclass, and I went fire giant Goliath, which gave me, I can do an additional 1d10 fire damage when I hit something. So with flurry of blows,
Fire along with radiant damage is one of the most effective in D&D. Like radiant damage is, you just happen to have this percentage-wise least amount of creatures which are invulnerable or resistant to it. I've come to the conclusion over the years that my favorite character class is cleric, just because of the sheer amount of clerics that are played, and that I find it the most versatile adaptable class to play because it's so subtly nuanced by what gods you follow, what spell selections you have, what restrictions your religion and stuff has on it. So it's a class custom built for variation. No two clerics are ever the same, And I haven't read up on the 2024 version of Cleric. I have really not read any of it yet. I was kind of waiting until the DMG and the Monster Manual came out before I really dived back into it. To get it, because obviously for my job I need to understand it really, really well.
Yeah, I should have my physical book this week. It's at JFK Airport, according to the tracking. So.
But the fact is that I haven't been playing a lot of traditional D&D for a long time now since the OGL thing. There's just so many indie games to try. It's really just like I haven't got time to play 5th edition, and so I haven't established any gaming groups that play it on the regular. If I had a regular real-life gaming group, I would be playing 5th edition on the regular. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would say, hey, guys, have you tried Shadow Dark? Or have you tried Mork Borg? Or have you tried this and tried that? And subtly convert them away to something, else. But, yeah, because of my job, obviously, it doesn't matter what my opinion is. If I want to earn a living, I have to make 5th edition videos because that's where, like, people talk a big talk about watching other content and stuff. But when it comes to when it actually comes down to what their habits are, they like watching 5th edition stuff and they like my traditional monster ecologies where I bring all of the lore from all the editions into it. So I'm not really a 5th edition channel. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons channel. The entirety of Dungeons and Dragons. That's my job, and that's my mission in life, is to preserve 50 years of literary history and make sure that Wizard of the Coast does not destroy it, and it is passed on to the latest, or at least they have an awareness that there's more there for them to discover themselves.
I probably play the most Dungeons and Dragons out of the three of us. I play twice a week now, 2 games a week. So
yeah,
I'd like to be a player though, for once.
I probably play. I'm going to play once a week, but then I have another game, which is a Game Master Roundtable, just like AJ, and we play different things there, and that's probably about twice a month, or once a fortnight. That's really sort of where we're generally.
Yeah.
But last night we were supposed to finish off Simon's Skull and Shackles 5e campaign, but Simon runs 5e with a combination of Pathfinder rules as well. So it's not pure 5e, and none of us run pure 5e, and certainly I don't. Mine is designed to play fast and simple. So and I've redesigned all the monsters, and I continue to do so. So yeah. But we actually played Shadow Dark last night, and they had a ball. They were like, it reminds me of basic D&D, and I ran through an adventure that we made on my channel, and I was asking them questions, and then we had finished early. We would just about get through the entire adventure in 3 hours. So
that wasn't that village that we made on your live stream, was it?
It was the Gnome Mine. It was one of the very early ones that we did, the Gnome Mine. And they're like, why did we even pick the Gnome Mine? I was like, probably because it said it had gnome in the name. That's probably what it is. So they played through that, and they found an apparatus of Quellish. It was so funny watching them using that thing.
Nice.
But we finished early, and I said, okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we're going to go back and finish Simon's pirate campaign. We've got one more session for that. We'll deal with Harrigan, or he will deal with us. And I said, well, we've got time left. Do you want to try this super atomic and build a character? So we sat down, and they rolled up characters, and trying to get used to rolling for the 100 different options and 1,000 different options, and like how to do that, and using 3 dice, and then the laughter start to begin. Like some of the options that came up, people were just cracking up with laughter. And JP said, I just got a power to blow myself up like a bomb and then reform myself after I've blown myself up. Somebody had butterfly wings. He had butterfly wings as well. Yeah, there was all sorts of things going on here. There was just the whole character process. Took about 10, 15 minutes. And they really would stop, but they didn't. They went back and they kept going through, and they were looking at more stuff, and the laughter just kept going on. They were cracking up so much.
Those tables work. I rolled on those tables the other day, and they do work really well together somehow. I don't know how you've done it, mad scientist.
Yeah.
The synergies.
Yeah. I aim to do some playtesting. I'm gonna get some randoms on the internet and do some playtesting, see if they can be happy to be recorded.
So currently what I'm doing is I'm making my usual YouTube content, but in between time, I'm pulling all-nighters and doing what I do, which is, I sleep in snatches of 4 hours, and I'll be doing other stuff during the day, but I'm steadily writing away. So I've redesigned the entire background table. I've vastly expanded it so that each of the 100 different backgrounds is now much more grounded. I've done the ratio very American-centric. It's not like totally random of normal, ordinary people. It's more like I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, if I roll on this background, I want every single option that I roll to be something cool, not like seen as a dud, like one that you would avoid. So there's a lot of CIA operatives, and you were a mountaineer guide and stuff like that, and you can, or like you've got Cajun connections where you can get like riverboats and illegal guns and stuff like that because people that you know from the bayou. It's 80% American, 10% Canadian backgrounds, and the remaining 10% is like English-speaking European countries and Australasia and New Zealand. I think there's one New Zealand background in there, a couple of Australian. So you'll see it's very American-centric, but that's what the audience is. So I'm just gearing it towards where the target audience is. But if you wanted to change it, you could easily just say like your character's from a different place. And it's all about the accents. You want to know where you come from in the States specifically. If you're a person who likes playing a character with an accent, so if you wanted to mimic a Virginia accent or something like that, you can, but it's optional. You don't have to. And you can pick any option. But the main thing I'm doing with those is instead of having a separate table with all of the skills and talents that your character may also gain, I saw there was a lot of conflicts between the backgrounds and those, and also the backgrounds that I originally generated were very samey and generic.
Yeah, they were.
So now every time you roll, you've got 100 different backgrounds, and each background has got 10 different random specific skills or abilities which are related to your lifestyle and your skills and stuff like that. So if you're a CIA operative, you can make you can assemble drones, surveillance drones, or combat drones and stuff like that. Or you've got sophisticated surveillance equipment, or you got a like James Bond style exploding pen or something like that you've stolen. So they're all
sword pen.
Yeah, so they're all it gets very. And I found that's an easier rolling experience too, because you don't have to flip pages if the subtable is within the table itself. So you just roll D100 and D10 at the same time. It gives you the option and the specific skill. So I found that just a better user experience. So that's what I'm doing with the second edit going through, is I'm just re-examining everything and going over it with a fine-tooth comb, getting rid of any duplications and stuff, because it's really easy to do that when you're doing 1,000. You forget other stuff that you've done.
The backgrounds aren't, you were a farmer, or you were a fisherman.
No.
Oh yes, you used to
You're
bake
from a Buddhist
bread.
cult in Vietnam. It's like, I don't really relate to that very well. It's random, sure, but it's a little bit too random.
Yeah, they're not your sort of very standard backgrounds. They are a little more. There's a little bit more meat to them.
And these ones are just like you read them and go, oh yeah, that character makes sense. Like
did you bring back Urchin?
Yeah, I've got a lot of I've got street artist kids, and I've got like hippie, like I've got an Australian biologist who's into surfing and restoring vintage space skateboards as a hobby. So it gives you your place where you came from, so you can establish your accent and regional knowledge. It gives you your something about your parentage or your culture that you come from, something about your education and your early career. But it's an assumption that your character had a life before you transformed into a superhero through mutation or whatever. But if you wanted to, you could ignore that and say, I've had superpowers since I was a baby. I've always been a part of a super agency. I was created in a lab. So you can just opt out and say, that's one of my characters.
Do you have a background where all of your parents have died and all they do is spend their entire life, and initially before they became a superhero, just playing video games in some sort of virtual
You mean
world?
murder hobo? No, I don't think so. But that could be an option. I mean, there's always the option to just not roll on the background table and write down what your background is. That's perfectly legit. Yeah.
Product placement. Also, a shout out as well. Wally's released his book.
Yeah, his puzzle book is out. We talked about it on his channel, and his first puzzle book is like a Lamborghini or a Maserati or a Ferrari. concept car that nobody's actually ever made. It's that good. But his second book is like a spaceship that has warp drive. It's significantly better than the first one. Yes, I'm very impressed. I think it's a really good resource. I don't think people should be disappointed when they buy that thing. I really think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to people's misconceptions about a rules simple game, like a game where you've got 3 pages as the guide and 1 page which is the rules. Just how big the book of Super Atomic will be because of those frickin' tables. It's like, this is a super rules like game that AJ can boom. What the hell is that? That's Super Atomic. Oh my god.
95% is character creation and venture creation for the host.
Yeah. It's exactly what a game book should be. Just resources, just packed with it. Yeah, I don't dictate how you play the game. I just give you the resources and let it nature take its course.
All right. So creative people doing creative things.
Yeah,
that's what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Wrap it up there, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. AJ mentioned about something about Baldur's Gate, wanting to go into Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate. They've just unlocked the level mod now, so now we can start modding custom levels, just like Neverwinter Nights. So it's entered the second stage of basically where Baldur's Gate becomes a community-driven game, and this is, I think, where it's really going to take off. It's going to be cool. So we're going to start seeing a lot of people whose channels are wholly dedicated to designing Baldur's Gate levels and stuff like that, and they'll blow up pretty quickly, I think, because I saw a huge increase in my numbers, and I'm just associated with Baldur's Gate through my content. So yeah, people who are dedicated to that, it's a good opportunity if you're thinking about getting into YouTube or Twitch streaming. That's a really good avenue to go down if you want to get an audience real quick.
Wonderful.
Not me.
Please,
no.
Please
make sure it is something that you are legitimately passionate about, that you would do for free anyway, and you will do well on YouTube. If it's something that you're following and forcing yourself to enjoy or do because you see it as a way to profit, you'll burn out real quick.
That is not a conversation that I want to be a part of. Baldur's Gate interests me as much as watching cricket. Multi-day cricket is probably more exciting to me than Baldur's Gate.
I feel the same way about watching celebrity Let's Plays. I'm like, no, I'd rather watch paint dry things. Yeah. I don't want to watch a bunch of theater kids rolling giant dice around.
On Warhammer, maybe.
Like the idea of going and playing D&D in a castle. No, thank you.
If you want an explosive podcast, we can talk about Star Wars. It seems to be pretty clear that'll go down. We could even you guys did Marvel superheroes. We could do DC superheroes.
Why? Yeah. Why? We can talk about, like, one of the interesting things with Super Atomic is defining what the golden age and silver age and modern age and stuff of comics is. Particularly when you're making it.
We'll think of something.
We'll come up. Yeah. You'll throw something and we'll say yes or no, and then we'll go from there.
And of course, there's always Warhammer 40k.
Yeah. Look, you can't stop me wanting to talk about Warhammer 40,000 because I actually.
Well, should we do Warhammer?
I played the game.
Fantasy Warhammer.
You played the game.
40K?
You played the actual tabletop battle game.
Yeah, I played Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k.
What's your army?
Necrons.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to play an army of Black Templars.
Yeah. So I had Dark Elves and I had Necrons. Yeah. Right. Well, this is why I don't know that this is necessarily a good topic for somebody who doesn't know anything. We got to pick something that all three of us can actually contribute.
I think one of the advantages, one of the really good things about Warhammer 40k is that
learn about it.
Is that if you say, okay, the Forgotten Realms and the history of that setting in Dungeons and Dragons is one of the richest setting, like compared to the Lord of the Rings lore, for instance, people think that's rich and well detailed. No. We got 50 years of many authors working on the Forgotten Realms, and it's one of the richest, most well explored and developed fantasy settings ever created in the history of humankind. And Warhammer 40k is the sci-fi equivalent of it. Like, it is the richest sci-fi setting ever created in the history of mankind. Hands down. Just a basic explanation of the timeline takes 3 hours at a fast clip. You know, it's
I
incredible.
don't mind doing Warhammer because I will approach it as someone learning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly the same way that I approach the Forgotten Realms.
But if we were to talk about it, I think you need to narrow it down to either Warhammer 40k or 30k, since there's 30k as well, the fantasy setting, or the sci-fi setting. You know, either Warhammer the fantasy setting or Warhammer the sci-fi setting. Rather than try to do both.
Or just the fact that they morphed, they took a fantasy setting and they took it to the logical extreme and said, okay, what are space elves and what are space orcs and what are space undead? And said, okay, we can turn it into a sci-fi setting. And essentially it's built on the bones of a fantasy setting, much like Starfinder. Starfinder is a sci-fi setting built on a fantasy universe. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's a trope.
We'll think of something.
Yeah. Or we can just talk about Star Wars, since we all know about Star Wars.
And of course, we're open to suggestions if anybody's got any particular thing that they think we should cover. Send us a suggestion on a Discord server or contact any of us, and we'll put it in the list. We're happy to talk about any of our interests.
My wife is reminding me I have other things to do today as well.
Yeah.
So, good night from me.
And it's good night from them.
And it's good night from, I guess, me as well.
We need a 3. Now we're at 3-1.
Good noon.
It's actually afternoon.
It's afternoon. Yes, I know.
Right.
We could say good night from me, and I say good night from them, and Fred can say, don't assume my time zone.
Yeah. If you have a suggestion for an outro, let me know as well. All right. Thanks, everyone.